There are emotional triggers so powerful, so hardwired into female psychology that once you understand how to activate them, you're no longer chasing women. They start chasing you. Here's the thing. This is not about looks, money, or smooth lines. It's about emotional control, masculine energy, and mastering the unspoken rules of psychological attraction. Miss this and you stay stuck in confusion, mixed signals, and women who disappear without a word. Learn to tap into these 6 precise psychological switches and watch what happens. She will not even know why she cannot stop thinking about you. If you find value in this kind of deep, practical insight, feel free to like, comment, or share it forward. This message might be exactly what another man needs to hear right now. Let's break down the hidden mechanics behind the kind of emotional intensity that quietly binds a woman's mind to yours without saying a word. The psychological switches that bind her to you without her even realizing it. Most men think women fall for words, compliments, poems, promises, but the female mind responds to something deeper, more primal. Hidden beneath the surface of every strong connection are emotional triggers that bypass logic and hit directly where desire lives. These triggers are not taught in school. They are learned through experience or painfully through failure. If you know how to activate even one of them, you can create a connection so intense it feels irrational to her and impossible to walk away from. The game is not about chasing. It is about emotional control. Not hers, but yours. When a man masters his internal world, something changes in how the external world responds. Female psychology is wired to notice when a man is not emotionally needy. That flips her instinctual radar from indifferent to drawn. The more she senses you're not trying to win her over, the more her curiosity kicks in. The less you give emotionally, the more emotionally invested she becomes. The answer lies in tension, and tension creates attraction. You have seen how some guys walk into a room and women pay attention. No fancy suits, no slick lines. It is not about appearance, it is presence. That is masculine energy in motion. A man who owns the space he walks into without saying a word. What women feel is his emotional discipline, the quiet certainty that he does not need validation. It is the mindset that is immune to games, drama, and approval seeking. He becomes unpredictable, solid, and hard to figure out. When you express too much, give too much, or talk too much, you kill psychological attraction. Not because communication is bad, but because predictability is. One of the most powerful emotional triggers is uncertainty. Her imagination fills the silence with desire. She starts asking, what is he thinking? Why has he not chased me yet? And now you are in her head. Not by effort, but by absence. Strategic silence is not manipulation. It is space. Space creates meaning. Meaning builds value. And value is the root of female desire. A woman's desire is not controlled by logic. It is shaped by what she feels in your presence. And that feeling is defined by your emotional independence. When a man stands unshaken by attention or rejection, he becomes psychologically magnetic. That is the mystery factor. He is not unreadable. He is just not performing. The contrast between her emotional chaos and his emotional stillness creates a storm she wants to be caught in. It is not about being cold. It is about being calm, aware, and self-directed. That flips her from lukewarm to obsessed. There was a man, quiet, decent job, not flashy. He kept losing women to louder guys until one day he stopped trying. He focused instead on becoming high value, building mental resilience, and embracing emotional detachment. Slowly, women began to approach him. One woman admitted she could not stop thinking about him because he was so grounded it made her feel off balance. That is not luck. That is behavioral dominance. You can develop that once you stop seeking approval. Start here. Go 72 hours without explaining yourself unnecessarily. Stop oversharing. Let your actions speak. This challenge will reveal how conditioned you are to please. The more you resist the urge to overcommunicate, the more you notice shifts in how others respond, how you carry yourself, and how you feel. You are no longer reacting, you are directing. Female psychology responds to what is felt, but not fully understood. When a woman cannot decode your emotions, when she senses you are not broadcasting every thought or feeling, she becomes intrigued. That is your natural power being protected. The guy who dumps emotional weight too early gets labeled as too much. The man who keeps just enough to himself becomes a puzzle, and puzzles are seductive. She wants to solve you. The more she tries, the more attached she becomes. You might ask, how do you trigger emotional attachment without faking it? The answer is emotional leverage. You do not manipulate. You lead. You stay calm when she tests. You stay clear when she is unclear. That gives her a feeling of safety wrapped in mystery. She says, he just gets me, but I cannot read him. That paradox is the hook. It makes her feel something. And in her world, feelings are reality. Make her feel deep, and she will stay. Attraction is built in the spaces between actions, in how long you take to reply, in how you leave a moment lingering instead of explaining it away. That is unpredictability, and unpredictability builds obsession. One day you are fully present. The next, you are busy with your mission. Women feel it. They respect it. It drives them a little crazy in the best way. Emotional intensity forms through contrasts, warmth and restraint, presence and absence. Have you ever pulled away emotionally, not as punishment, but as protection, and watched her lean in harder? That is emotional detachment. It does not mean being distant. It means you stop handing over your sense of self to her reactions. You stop making her your source of validation. That shift changes everything. She starts sensing that if she messes up, she loses something rare. Not just you, but the peace, clarity, and strength she feels around you. Women do not want ownership of your soul. They want access to your world. That is why non-validating matters. You do not reward her for things that do not deserve reward. You do not chase every drop of attention. She must earn it. That creates long-term emotional engagement rooted in respect, not dependency. Picture this. She is emotional. Instead of reacting, you breathe. You ground the moment. That is behavioral dominance. That calm under pressure tells her, this man can handle life and handle me. Women test emotional boundaries because their biology craves certainty. They want strength. When you react, you fall into her frame. When you respond, you anchor her into yours. That is power dynamics through presence. You hold steady, and she holds on. Try this. For one full day, say nothing about yourself unless asked. No self-promotion. Observe how people, especially women, start to fill the space. Your presence becomes the talking. Women are wired to test. These tests come through mood swings, mixed signals, provocations. Most men respond with insecurity. The high-value man embraces the test. He does not flinch. He holds the emotional control line. He gives her what she did not know she needed. A man who can carry emotional weight without breaking. Think about a time when you were most attracted to someone. It was not when they poured their heart out. It was when they made you feel but did not over-explain. That is the mystery factor. It keeps people awake at night. You do not need to hide who you are. You reveal selectively. Create curiosity. If this feels like someone finally putting words to thoughts you have had for years, do not lose this momentum. Stay with the process. Strategic silence is about letting the other person feel your absence. Many men are too available. They reply instantly, explain excessively, and never let her wonder. Silence creates emotional space, and emotional space creates meaning. Imagine her waiting a little longer for your reply. She checks her phone more. That is emotional leverage. It builds presence in her mind. You do not disappear. You calibrate. You engage fully when it matters and disengage when it does not. That communicates emotional independence. You are not emotionally reactive. You are emotionally sovereign. Women are drawn to that because it contrasts their emotional instability. Your consistency becomes her anchor. Your restraint becomes your allure. When you let a woman dictate your emotional state, you hand over the frame. And once the frame shifts, so does the attraction. She wants to feel like she is entering your world, not pulling you into hers. Build a world worth entering. Mission, purpose, discipline, direction. Once you have that, everything changes. You stop asking for a seat at the table. You are the table. Try this. Go out, be social, and do not initiate validation. Compliment no one. Do not chase approval. Just exist. Observe how uncomfortable it gets and lean into it. People begin to sense your self-containment. There is something magnetic about a man who does not flinch in silence. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is not respond. Silence becomes a signal. It communicates emotional discipline. When she throws emotional bait and you do not bite. When you hold your ground with grace, she feels it. It disrupts her pattern. She is used to emotional chaos getting a reaction. Now she meets someone who does not flinch. That contrast stirs curiosity. She starts wondering why it does not affect you. Containment. A man who can contain his emotions without suppressing them is rare. He feels everything but expresses only what serves him. That is emotional control. Women pick up on that. It is not about coldness. It is about strength. When she sees that you can feel desire, frustration, even love without losing your edge, you become magnetic. She feels safe and challenged. That combination is addictive. When she senses you do not need her, it changes everything. Not because you pretend, but because you truly do not. You have built your own world. That independence gives you leverage. Female psychology responds to value. And value does not chase, it attracts. Unpredictability does not mean being inconsistent with character. It means being unpatterned in behavior. Routine kills mystery. When she can predict your every move, emotional novelty fades. Rotate environments, change the energy. Sometimes reply fast, sometimes take your time, sometimes be soft-spoken, sometimes be silent. Keep her guessing by living a rich, full life. Obsession is built through emotional contrast. Laughter followed by space, warmth followed by stillness. You are creating emotional waves. She feels the rhythm. She cannot predict you. That makes you unforgettable. Once a week, remove yourself from her digital world. No likes, no comments, no replies. Let your absence speak. It reveals her interest and builds emotional leverage. When you stay grounded, you become unforgettable. That is when female desire shifts from he is nice to I want him and I do not know why. Women do not fall for explanations. They fall for energy. They retone, timing, presence. When you are calm, composed, and connected to purpose, she feels it. That speaks louder than declarations of love. The more self-sourced you are, the more she wants to be part of your life. That is sexual polarity at its core. If you want her attention to last, you need to stop giving your energy away. Guard it. Share it with intention. Most guys try to prove their worth through constant effort, but the men she remembers do not prove. They are. They move with quiet certainty. That energy is unforgettable. Every time you center your world around her, you shrink. You stop being the source and become the reflection. That is how attraction fades. The antidote is masculine energy, anchored in mission. When she senses your life has gravity, she orbits it. Build a mission that does not involve her. Expand your purpose. Elevate your standards. That becomes emotional control. It draws her in. Not out of pity, but because she wants to be near the flame you carry. When a man holds a personal code he lives by, he becomes rare. That rarity creates behavioral dominance. You do not dominate her. You master yourself. She feels it through your body language, breath, tone. You walk slower, talk less, speak clearly, and the effect is unmistakable. You create a dynamic where she wants to impress you. Not because you asked her to, but because she senses your value. Want a real shift. Practice saying no kindly, firmly, without explanation. No to late messages. No to plans that waste your time. No to conversations that drain you. This activates non-validating. You stop giving attention like it is free, and that makes it valuable. And what is valuable becomes desired. A man who lacks mystery becomes boring fast, predictable and easy. Ease kills attraction. Women crave emotional intensity, not through drama, but through range. Can you be calm and sharp, warm and unshakable, curious and self-contained? That range keeps her attention even in silence. She is emotionally invested in what she still does not fully understand. Here is a challenge for the next week. Monitor your reactions. Do not suppress, observe. Notice when you feel the urge to explain, to chase, to impress. Then pause, breathe, speak less, move slower. This rewires you into emotional discipline. Suddenly, people listen more. Women look longer. Your presence stretches, and you feel more powerful. This is not about women. It is about you. The goal is not to force her to want you. The goal is to become the kind of man who naturally activates these emotional triggers by simply being. No chasing, no pretending, just embodiment. And when that happens, when you live this, you stop caring whether she stays or leaves, because you have become someone too valuable to beg, too cantered to chase, and too rare to forget. Now it is your turn. Which emotional trigger have you never mastered, but now know you must? Which behavior are you willing to let go of today to start leading with strength instead of approval? Are you ready to stop chasing and start becoming? The more grounded you become, the more she seeks clarity, direction, and safety. And she finds that in a man who has already claimed it within himself. Drop it in the comments. I am done giving away my power. Let's see how many are waking up to this. Thanks for staying until the end. If this message hit you in a way you did not expect, like it, share it, subscribe, and stay connected for more lessons that can change everything. That